No doubt you will be surprised to hear that reconciliation did not work. Surprise! Reconciliation failed, and I am finally justified in my claim that my wife has been lying to me and everyone else the whole time. Feel free to remark, "I told you so." My daughter's birthday was over the weekend, so my wife announced it on Facebook. Her AP left a remark on the post. This resulted in 2 days of messaging between him and my wife. She could tell me he texted, but she just gave me a hazy account of what they were talking about and stated it was only 1 or 2 texts. She'd tell me he's asking how old our daughter is and so on. However, she has been carrying her phone around the home for 2 days and responding to incoming messages immediately, much as she did during her affair in the summer. She has yet to give me her phone, but she is unaware that I was able to estimate her PIN number. She is very predictable in her choices of passcodes. Things began to grow flirtatious, and they began to make references to previous interactions between them. There's nothing obvious in terms of a smoking gun. During this talk, he said that he was at home on Monday and Tuesday owing to the inclement weather and his job outdoors. She decides to color her hair after the kids have gone to bed on Monday night. I found this odd since she had just done it before Christmas, and it wasn't all that horrible. Furthermore, she has returned to working from home, so who is there to impress? She was in the bathroom late at night for well over an hour doing this and other grooming. I went to bed at 11:30 p.m. and asked if I may come in to wash my hands before going to bed. She responded no and pushed my toothbrush out the door through a gap. I asked her what she was doing in there for so long, and she replied cryptically, "I'm getting ready for you." Reedy-eyed. Sure. AP has the day off tomorrow, so I instantly associated it with her spending an hour or more grooming herself in the bathroom. So before I left for work on Tuesday, I reset the trip odometer on her vehicle so that I could easily ascertain whether she traveled anywhere throughout the day. As I depart, she's in her regular sweatpants in front of the computer. During the day, she contacts me and says she's going to take a sleep at lunch. When I get home from work, I discover that she has changed into a low-cut top and put on a lot of makeup throughout the day. When I ask her about the breast shirt, she deflects the topic. I thought she could have changed her mind about taking our kid to his activity tonight, since she stays out at a neighboring bar while he is engaged, but instead she goes and puts on a new long-sleeve sweatshirt after dinner. So, what's the deal with the breast shirt throughout the day? I glance at the automobile, and there are 5.5 kilometers on the trip counter. She hasn't acknowledged going somewhere when asked about her day. I assume they went out to lunch since his specific restaurant is 2.5 kilometers away, plus an additional 5 kilometers to pick up AP. Yes, he lives that close to use, 7-minute walk. As it turns out, I was somewhat off. Instead of eating lunch, she went to his place, bought tea, watched TV, and had. Finally, justice has been served. To be honest, I'm not even bothered. I already had low expectations based on her lack of remorse, blame shifting, and lying. I'm relieved to know that I'm not insane. I put forth my best effort, and then she does this. It's over, and it's finished for good. She had asked me this weekend, "What do I need to do to keep you from divorcing me?" That's simple. I stated we shouldn't bring other guys into our relationship. Here we are, 2 days later. At this point, I don't believe it's even worth addressing her. I'm not going to tell her how I know all of this. I'm going to wait a couple of days, then go to a friend's place on Friday after work and stay until at least Monday. I'll email her my plans for Friday afternoon. I don't even want to give her an opportunity to inject her poison into my ear. I'm going to block her so she can't contact me at all. I'm also considering informing her mother, father, and sister. So far, her sister and father are aware of the scenario, but only from her perspective, in which she claims it was all a dream and nothing more. I'd want to say something along the lines of "I'm sorry to tell you that Name has been lying to me and to you the whole time." Despite our efforts to reconcile, she met Name on Tuesday and had with him. I'm going to file for divorce. Thank you for accepting me into your family and for all of your previous kindnesses. Please be there for her and the kids as they face whatever comes next. Have a wonderful life. So far, no one has heard a word from me regarding this scenario, so I'd want to push her narrative control a little bit, particularly with people closest to us. At the very least, I can claim I tried. Despite my lack of hope, I was truly trying, and she even told me and several of her friends that things were improving. Then she goes and repeats the process. Whatever culpability I previously felt for my wife's infidelity, I no longer feel since I committed to reconciliation, and she plainly did not. This time, it is unmistakably on her, and now I'm done. I shall make no more efforts on her behalf. She has clearly proved that she is not worth it. Story 2. Need support, married 1/2 years. Wife cheated and left. Can't get out of depression mode, not sure how to move on. I believe it all began in June. My wife and I had been battling to relocate and find new careers. Her job made her sad, and she couldn't find work here. We decided to attempt to relocate to the north. Throughout our hunt, she became more unhappy with my inability to find a job in my profession in the location where she wanted to go. She and I had a buddy who joined our social gaming group during and before this period. He's 55 years old, rides a motorbike, smokes heavily, and doesn't give a my wife had become close to him to the point that she sent him a photo. I found out because she admitted out of nowhere. I had a complete meltdown and told her I would try to forgive her and that she would never do it again. After a month, everything seems to be okay. I was on the verge of completely forgiving her. That's when she decides to join him on a drinking spree. I lose touch with her as the night progresses, and eventually after the bar shuts. She finally returns home and informs me that she was babysitting him because he had too much to drink to drive home. Of course, I had my doubts, but I didn't pursue them. A few days later, I find myself having Facebook talks with him. Chats that are far nicer than a married person should have. I decided to approach her and inquire about her connection with him. What did she do? Is she looking for a divorce? At that time, she experienced a mental collapse. She claimed to have kissed him and had affections for him. She decided to pack a suitcase at that time since she didn't want to be there. I tell her that tonight will determine the fate of our relationship. She could have gone anyplace else, but she chose to go to his house. I'm plainly irritated. An important time has passed. If you sleep with him, don't come home, she said on Facebook in the middle of the night. She texted me in the morning to say she'd be swinging over to retrieve some things. I inquired as to why. Because of what you said the night before, she said. For the next several weeks, we'll meet up, she'll receive her things, and we'll talk/argue. She never confesses that what she did was incorrect or that anything was her responsibility. That she was evolving as a person and my own development, which had just begun about a year before, couldn't keep up with her. She saw me as a person with intellectual contempt and blamed me for everything. I never mistreated her. I was living for her. I gave her all I had to offer. I dedicated my whole life to obtaining. She yanked herself out of it with no feeling. I was alone, furious, wounded, and emotionally distraught. I've never been wounded like this before. My future was in tatters. I miss my soon-to-be ex-in-law family. She yanked them from my grasp. Over the previous several months, I've learned a lot about her that she never told me. The first was discovering that she was bipolar too. Throughout our relationship, she had only told me that she was sad, never that she had bipolar disorder. That would have altered many things, including how I handled with her depression's highs and lows. She's been an entirely different person since her break. When I confronted her, I and many others think she was having a manic episode, but we can't identify it, and her therapist, I'm not sure what he says. Speaking with several of her ex-boyfriends, I learned that when problems in her relationships were too much for her to bear, she would up and go. She was previously engaged and did the same thing to the next person and now to me. Her parents had hoped that I would be the one with whom she would settle down, but I suppose not. Throughout this whole ordeal, I've had the support of my family, which has made it so much easier to explain what occurred to. As a result of this, I've made numerous new friends who have supported me along the journey. But, being the introvert that I am, I'm at a loss on what to do other than discuss with my therapist. I'm trying to force myself to be a better person, to discover my new self, but the despair keeps returning. Every day, I wake up wondering whether this will be the day. I've previously said that I would never injure myself since I have too much to live for, particularly for my nieces and nephews, whom I love. But I'm at a loss on what to do. I lost the one I love, the one I dedicated my whole life to, the one who betrayed all I gave her. I simply don't know what to do anymore.